My name is Pam Cook, and I'm the Executive Director of the Lori M. Tisch Center for Food Education and Policy in the Program in Nutrition here. And we are so delighted to be hosting the Just Food Conference and partnering with Just Food for the conference. I want to acknowledge that we have really deep roots with Just Food. Dr. Joan Gussow, who's right here in the audience, has been teaching the transformational course, Nutritional Ecology, here since 1970. And I would bet that all of the work that all of you do in one way or another has been touched by the work of Joan. And I've been so fortunate to teach it with her for the last 5 years. So let's give a round of applause for Joan. When we think about today's times, a lot of the words that come into our thinking are scary, challenging, and turbulent. And I think that makes this year's theme of a call to collaboration so important and so relevant. And Teachers College is really a perfect place to have this conference. TC was born in 1880 by a woman named Grace Dodge, who started a kitchen garden for poor immigrant women. And that was another point in U.S. history where there was a lot of unrest about immigration. So I hope that these old walls of Teachers College are a place where you feel safe, can open your mind, learn, and find some new collaboration. So welcome again to the Just Food Conference. And now I'm going to turn it over to Robin Berger, the Acting Executive Director of Just Food.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to all of the people who are in this room and so many more. The Just Food Conference is always one of the most powerful and inspiring parts of my year. It's a tremendous privilege to be able to be in a space that convenes this diverse body of food justice work from across the city and community leadership. We're so honored to be here with all of you today, so thank you. I also want to acknowledge that we have at least 3 of Just Food's founders, possibly in the room right now, but joining us for the conference today, Joan Gussow, Ruth Katz, and Kathy Lawrence, 2 of whom are former EDs. And as Pam said, the theme of this year's conference is a call to collaboration. And so with that in mind, I want to start off by just thanking all of the amazing collaborators who've made this year's event possible. First off, Teachers College for hosting us for the 4th year in a row, and particularly to Pam Cook, to Claire Uno, to the amazing media services team, facilities team, Culinart, and security for making this event so seamless and so easy for us. They're incredible partners. They take great care of us and all of you, so be sweet to them when you run into them today. I want to thank all of our conference partners, the Tisch Food Center and Farm School NYC, who we're thrilled to have joining us this year as a collaborator, for helping us put together what I think is an incredibly rich and intentional lineup of programming. I also want to thank our sponsors, the Durst Organization, Great Performances, and all of the conference sponsors who've helped make this event possible while keeping it affordable so that our entire community can be here. And I'd also like to acknowledge the Levitt Foundation, whose generous support made possible a really exciting collaboration with the Youth Food Justice Network this year. They were able to develop an entirely youth-led track for this year's conference. And we've also been able to offer paid jobs to 10 youth from East New York Farms, Added Value, Friends of the Highline, and Rockaway Youth Task Force, all of whom hosted a working group who helped plan a portion of this year's conference, which is pretty awesome. And in addition, we've been able to offer scholarships to 100 youth who are all attending today and will be attending youth track workshops, other networking activities, but also all other portions of the conference. So thank you again to the Levitt Foundation for making that happen. It's a really exciting new component of this year's event. And last but not least, I want to thank our keynote speakers, Davida Davison and Dr. Ricardo Salvador, and the more than 100 speakers who are contributing their voices, perspectives, and energy over the next 2 days. We're incredibly honored to be able to offer the Just Food Conference as a platform to share all of the important work that you do. Just Food's vision is a racially equitable, economically just, and sustainable food system for all. Since 1995, we've worked towards this vision by training and supporting grassroots leaders to launch food projects like CSAs, farmers markets, farm to food pantry initiatives, and peer education initiatives that are all driven by and for their communities and that foster direct, equitable relationships between regional farmers and New York City residents. Our approach has always been grounded in a firm belief that lasting solutions to the inequities that exist in our food system have to be shaped by the people who are most impacted. We prioritize our work with a focus on elevating leadership in communities of color and communities that have been historically marginalized and are most impacted by these challenges. And in that vein, we prioritize speakers at this year's conference and use it as a platform to really highlight the work of those who are doing excellent work on the ground in their communities. And we hope that everyone can use this event as an opportunity to learn from one another, but to also get a platform for your work so it's more elevated and you can there's more acknowledgement for it. We chose a call to collaboration for the theme of this year's conference because it speaks to the nature of Just Food's work, but more importantly, in recognition of the timely need to organize and unite, both within the food movement and across sectors. In the context of this current political climate, we feel acutely aware of the need to take action to protect not only our food system, but the rights of our diverse communities. This year more than ever, we felt an especially strong imperative to leverage the momentum that this event generates and be able to channel that energy into sustained collective action. And with this in mind, we've designed Monday's afternoon breakout sessions specifically around collective action planning. And we'll have 7 different themes where attendees can convene around facilitated action planning to identify individual, community level, and systemic actions that they can take to further some of the themes that we've talked about at this year's conference outside of it. So I would encourage everyone to stay for the whole conference if you can. We invite you to join us on Monday, and if you're not able to be here for the full 2 days, know that we welcome your voice, your energy, your ideas, and your perspectives throughout all of the programming that you'll see. So thank you once again for being here. We're looking forward to an energetic and intentional 2 days. And with that, I would like to welcome my colleague Onika Abraham, the director of Farm School NYC.
You'll be hearing from us a lot today and tomorrow. We're an adult education program that trains people who are living here in New York City in sustainable agricultural practices and really in order to build communities that are enacting and powerful and creating the change that we want to see in terms of food access and health disparities in our city. So you'll be hearing from me a little later. You'll be hearing from some of our faculty and teachers and students and alumni. So there's a lot more to be said around that. But right now, I really wanted to say welcome and get some excitement going about what we're really here to do today. And it's Sunday, right? So none of us are in church. And truthfully, I'm not much of a churchgoer myself, I have to say. But I do come from a long line of Alabama Methodist backwoods church-going folk, okay? And so when we get together on a Sunday morning, I'm like channeling my uncle right now who's a preacher who would say something like, why are we here? Why did we come here today? What drew us together? And I would like to say, I personally, I'm not sure about y'all, but I came here today to talk about justice. I came here to do the work around justice, right? So that is why I am here. I came here to do justice work. And I think that there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. We'll see a lot of that today. But as we're gathering around this issue, I want to make sure that we all have the same idea in mind of what we're saying when we say food justice. Because we talk about that term a lot, we throw it around, but I'm not sure we all have a collective understanding of what that means. And luckily, there are some really powerful people who got together and did that work, who really thought about a food justice manifesto back in 2008. It's a living document. It offers up some common values that we can all get behind and think about as an organizing principle. And I wanted to run through some of them today. Just a show of hands, who here has heard of the Food Justice Manifesto before, that particular document? Oh, awesome. So you can read this with me, right? So the first principle here is the Food Justice Manifesto. We are committed to the following principles. Number 1, that we are a part of history, and we must know the lessons of the past. This movement is rooted in the historical struggle and builds upon social movements of the past and present. Number 2, that every human being has a fundamental right to healthy food, and that we have a moral imperative to address the root causes of hunger and starvation. Number 3, we must stop the exploitation of all people who labor in the food system, including family farmers, those who work in the fields cultivating and harvesting, as well as those who process, prepare, and serve our food. That people have the right to migrate. That people have the right to migrate, okay? Without criminalization and oppression. We recognize that our food system is dependent on migrant and immigrant labor. All food system workers, including non-citizens, deserve fair working conditions. And if they are undocumented, they deserve a path towards legalizing their status. That all forms of oppression, including racism, sexism, and capitalist exploitation, must be opposed as we work towards the liberation of all people. That in order for people to feed themselves, communities must protect their land and water. We recognize the rights of people to sustainably plant land, use water, graze animals, hunt, gather, needs to be considered when assigning value to land and approving land uses. Can any of these be more relevant to what's going on today? This was written in 2008. That food is sacred, and cultural and spiritual traditions related to food should be honored. This means respecting ancient food and agricultural practices, the indigenous knowledge embodied in those traditions, and the rights of indigenous and land-based peoples to continue farming, ranching, fishing, hunting, and gathering. That many technologies, including genetic modification, violate the values of many peoples and cultures. It raises unanswered questions around biodiversity, health, and safety, and involve patenting and intellectual property relationships, which need to be more carefully scrutinized before they are applied in our food system in ways that may result in oppression and exploitation. That a just food system should resist and prevent life forms from being valued solely as commodities. Valuing land, water, and food resources as commodities reduces their importance, hides their vital interconnectedness with other living systems, and encourages short-sighted profiteering. That all forms of violence, including violence against people, domestic animals, and nature, should be ended. That agricultural systems free of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers toxic or harmful to farm workers, consumers, and the environment are more sustainable. That the transition away from toxic chemical-based agriculture into a more sustainable practices should be promoted by public policies. That ethical business practices along all points in the food system should be promoted with incentives and rewards through public policy in the marketplace. And that unethical business practices should be sanctioned through consumer campaigns and better enforced regulatory framework. Good luck with that. Oh. Sorry. That people-centered movement can embody these principles while upholding human dignity and equity. We are committed to being a social movement which does not require its activists to sacrifice their economic well-being, our health care, our personal safety for the greater good. We are the greater good. And lastly, that working together in a movement is challenging and requires commitment and continuous learning. It requires commitment and continuous learning. What are we here for today if not for continuous learning? So today, as we're moving forward in all of our workshops and conversations and networking, let's not forget what we're here for, right? So let's say together, what are we here for? We're here for justice, right? What are you here for this morning? Justice. What are we here for tomorrow? For justice. Thank you so much. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to speaking to you later. Next up is, Karen Washington, who we all know as one of the founders of Farm School NYC, the board chair of Just Food, and our MC for the day.
So you know what today is, y'all. It's about really working together. If you look at your program, it says in partnership with Tisch Food Center and Farm School NYC, because today is about collaboration. We can no longer do this work alone. We can no longer do this work in silos. It's about coming together and sharing our resources, sharing the work that each of us are doing. For too long, we have been thinking about what individual groups are doing. But now is a time where people are now coming out and marching and entering into streets and demanding answers. We have to now find a way to funnel that energy so that we can do something proactive. It's all well and good to march and say things about food justice and immigration rights, but if we don't have the action behind that, it's meaningless. So I stand here before you because, as Onika said, you know, I was one of the founders of Farm School. I'm on the board of Just Food, but now they're not separate. We're working together to change the food system in such a way that it is more diverse, that it includes our youth, that it includes the wisdom of our elders, that no one in a country so rich should have to feel that they have to pay for food, that we have hunger and we have poverty. In a country that has so much resources that 1% of the population continues to get richer and richer, while 99% of the population remains at the bottom. Things have to change, and it changes with us. It doesn't involve the government. It doesn't involve politicians. It involves us. This is a grassroots movement. This is our time. And if we're going to move this food system, then it has to be diverse. It has to be inclusive. So we're going to, today, we're going to take that energy and work together and exchange ideas and gather information, because tomorrow is the time for action. You're going to get whatever you have, the information that you have, take back to your community, and then find out who are the other people in your communities that are doing similar work and collaborate with them. It's no longer the I movement. It's the we movement. So with that, welcome to the conference. Get ready to roll up your sleeves, and we're going to rock and we're going to roll. So with that, I want to introduce a friend and comrade of mine who was in Just Food, was working in Just Food really from the very beginning. She went away for a couple of years, but I told Kathleen, you know, we're just going to let you go just for a couple of years, but you got to come back and come back to the city and work with us. And so she's here today to present the award for the McKinley Hightower Beha Award. Kathleen.
Good morning, everyone. So as Karen said, my name is Kathleen McTighe. I'm here today to talk about an old friend. So as Karen said, we have annually at this conference, we present the McKinley Hightower Bay Award. And McKinley, I'm sure many of you know him, and those that don't, I just want to mention a few things about him today. So I think that a lot of us do good work, but when I think of McKinley, I just think of him doing good. There wasn't a component of that there was time that was on the job and there was time that was life. It was just he was always doing good and always providing for others, whether that was through the food pantry that he ran or the farmer's market or teaching and running around the city with me to provide training to other community gardeners. He also, I think, won the long squash contest at the Green Thumb Harvest Festival multiple years in a row. And so I think there's certain people in your life that when you're coming up as a professional or learning things that you feel very honored and you sort of feel that you're in the right place. And McKinley always made me feel that I was in the right place. And although he would have maybe been considered as a participant in the City Farms program at Just Food, when I worked at Just Food from 2002 to 2007, I really see him as sort of the guiding light to the program, along with Karen Washington and some other key folks, community gardeners here in the city. So McKinley is somebody to me that will always be honored. I'll always appreciate who he was for me coming up and learning about urban agriculture and community gardening in New York City, and somebody who I hold as an example of just being a good person and doing good. And fortunately, I am able to be here with his family as well today, so I wanted to take the opportunity to invite his wife and children up to the stage. Also, I've known these folks for 15 years at this point, so I've watched them grow up, and I feel very blessed to be able to share the stage with them today. So I want to invite Wajida and little Wajida and Farid up to the stage to help me present the award today.
Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, I just want to say thanks to everyone for attending today. So on behalf of myself and the BR family, I'm proud to present the award to a young man who I believe represents the educational, environmental, and innovative goals of my father, McKinley Hightower BR. Part of the reason why we chose Duncan for this award this year is because of his proven dedication to food security in his community in New York City. Also for his work at Canberra's Beyond Hunger Emergency Food Pantry, and also with his work at the Learn and Grow food program, where he mentors and teaches youth about gardening. And one of the things that really stood out was that in the school that he attended in Medgar Evers, he was able to win multiple awards and be recognized for his work, not just with hydroponics, but also with science in general. And that is a large, that's a lot of hard work to do, especially in a school in the CUNY system. So now I'd like for Mr. Leonard Duncan, if you could please stand on stage and accept the award. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is an honor, and I really appreciate this. First of all, I would like to thank God for waking me up this morning. Another rep. Second of, I'd like to thank my parents for guiding me in the service of giving back and community service in my community. They've always pushed me to not be an opportunist, but to work hard and help out the people that need help. So that kind of stood with me. And I would like to thank my mentor, my teacher, and my supervisor, Miss Lucila Santana, for everything she's done for me. She has opened up a larger platform for me to give back to my community by giving out and distributing food to the East Flatbush community or the parts of Brooklyn. And while doing that, I've been doing that for about three and a half years. In July, I'll make 4 years at Campus Beyond Hunger Food Pantry, where I've distributed about, 200,000 pounds of food every year to the community, received a lot of deliveries, and I've been skilled in hydroponic farming. That platform of giving back has kind of taught me that there are more important things in life than really receiving, but it's good to see that the youth are really active in giving back in the community. I'd like to thank everyone, and I would like to thank the BR family for presenting me with this award. And also I would like to thank Just Food for hosting this event, and everyone have a great day. Thank you.